This story begins with a not-so-pleasant conversation, with Ruin Ha-sin's father telling his daughter that she should marry, and only to the man he chose. But the girl felt kinda weird. She hardly listened to her father and went straight away to look in the mirror because she didn't understand what was going on. When she walked into the bathroom, she looked in the mirror. It was Ruin Ha-sin, the eldest daughter of the Ruin family. The girl, when she saw her reflection, couldn't believe it. She was 20 years old, and she had traveled back in time. The girl overheard a conversation with Ruin Wei-shi's sister, told her father not to be angry because her sister had just woken up and might have a grudge lurking in her heart. Ruin Jie-chi, the father of these girls, just remained silent and listened to his daughter. He was very angry. Wei-shi told the father not to be angry. But at that moment, Han Xin came out of the bathroom and said that apparently he doesn't know that she's a child who has a mother, but no father. Or he doesn't think so. Almost immediately after giving birth, her mother died, and her father's mistress came to her mother's house right before the birth. Her mother started bleeding and dystocia from the stress. The father married this mistress, which infuriated Han Xin's mother. 3 months later, she gave birth to the girl's younger half-sister, Wei Si. As for Han Xin herself, she was sent to her grandmother, who lived in poverty and raised by being forced to pick up trash. And after she turned 20, her father came to her and told her that no one had really raised her, that she didn't even know how to talk to her father. Han Xing told him that while she lived in the slums, she had to fight more often than his precious little girl hugged him. At that moment, her stepmother ran up to her and said that it was her father after all. Let her listen to what he was saying. And the guy he's talking about is the son of the Ho family, and they're very rich, and if she marries him, he won't hurt her. But Han Xing wasn't going to listen to her. She yanked her hand, thus hitting her stepmother, and after that, she started to walk away. Ochit started yelling, asking what she was doing because she should be grateful for the opportunity. But Han Xing asked, if Ho's family is so good, why doesn't he marry off his daughter Wei Xing to him, and asked, does he really think he means anything to her? She has no education after all, if she starts hitting everyone around her. Fiancé Ruin Wei Si, the middle son of the Ho family, had been in a car accident 6 months ago. His legs were paralyzed, and he was disabled. Of course, they wouldn't want to break the marriage contract so as not to anger Madame Ho, and they didn't want to part with their precious daughter. That's why they turned the tables on Han Xin. In her past life, she refused to marry a coworker, but chose their second son. He cheated on her, and then she and her grandmother died in a car accident. I went down the wrong path before, but in this life, she doesn't care who Ho Xiao is because she just wants to protect her dear people. Wei Shi asked how it is that little sister can do such a thing, since mom and dad are older than her. But the girl told her sister she had better shut up. They are mother and daughter, one an old maid who pretends to be innocent, the other a young mercantile idiot. Then suddenly her father spoke up and asked who would even love her like this. She would marry the son of the Ho family. The girl could never get such a chance. So within 3 days, they would get married. Then Han Xin said that in that case, she had one condition, a house on West Street and another million on top. She won't accept any other condition. The father was very angry, but his wife asked how on earth he could marry off the daughter of a dispossessed man. So let him give her just what she wants. A house on West Street is cheap, and $1 million is only 2 bags. So it's better to use that little money to preserve Wei Xing's reputation. Han Xin said they'll make a deal. Now let them get out of her sight. If Grandma sees them, she'll be in a very bad mood. Just as they were about to walk out the door, the grandmother walked in just as she saw the man. She asked Ruin Zhe-Qing what he was doing here. At that time, the girl was still 20 years old and her grandmother was still alive. When Han Xin saw her, she immediately ran towards her and hugged her. After that, she said that Ruin Jie-Qing had promised to buy them an apartment and give them money, so they no longer needed money. But the grandmother was surprised and asked why he was giving her money so easily, that she had promised him. Jia-Qing said that young Master Ho is a handsome, talented, and rich man. How can her life be bad? With such a rich man, she will have to enjoy this opportunity. Han Xin got angry and told him to stop talking nonsense already. She had already promised him, and added that all her stuff would be moved after she got married. A few days later, Han Xin arrived at the Ho mansion. When she got out of the car, the butler met her and showed her where to go. When they got to the door, the man said the young master had not left the room for days. Han Xin, opening the door to his room, said that if Mr. Ho didn't mind, she would come in. When she entered the room, she saw a man sitting in a wheelchair who was very upset. Then the girl said that it was the first time they were seeing each other, but she thought they should get to know each other better. But Ho Shao just looked at her with an angry look and told her to leave. But the girl said that they would be with family now, so he should get to know her better. After that, she went to the window and opened them, telling him to let her introduce herself again. And the girl said that she was his wife, Ruan Han Xin, but Ho Shan said he didn't need a wife. When the girl replied not to worry and called him dear husband, the girl moved closer to him and told him that although he couldn't be there in person, she had already gotten her marriage certificate, and legally they were married. The man was silent for a moment, and then said that if she had come for money, it should be enough for her to lead a carefree life. Then he handed her a bank card. Han Xin was surprised and asked if he was giving her a bank card. Tak probably said that it just so happens that she is still interested in investments recently, and she was thinking of borrowing money from him, but since he gave her the card himself, she would split the profit in half when the time came. Ho Shao said she can do as she likes, and he doesn't care. She pressed the button to close the curtains and told her to just not talk to him and stay out of his way. Han Xin replied that he could not worry, because by investing in her, he would not be disappointed. And at that moment, a butler came running into their room and turned to Ho Shao, saying that the third young master had gotten into a fight with someone at school, and they had broken into their house demanding an apology. It suddenly occurred to the girl that there were many children in the Ho family, but the only support for this crippled man was Ho Jin Xuan. This surprised her, and she decided that if she let them leave so easily now, they would have a lot of problems later. Han Xin then took the butler's bat and said that since they were already family, she would deal with them herself. At this moment she left the room and started to walk out to the hallway as she heard someone talking. One of the guys turned to Ho Jin Er and asked him why he was the one who signed up like that. It was true that his older brother. And what was it that he had said so badly here? The second young master of the Wu family, namely Wu Yi, said that if he changed in front of him now, he would forgive all the same, in this family before him, and asked why the guy was so stubborn. The third young master of the Ho family, a guy named Ho Jin Xuan, said that the one was just an idiot. He was very angry and had a wound on his face. At this moment, Han Xing had already descended the stairs and asked the guys who let them make a mess in someone else's house in the first place. The boys were surprised and asked who it was anyway. Then the girl replied to Ho Jin Xuan that this was the first time they had seen each other, but she was his sister-in-law, Ruan Han Xin. Then the guy said it was none of her business, and not to even think she could control him by marrying his older brother. At that moment the girl could not stand it. She hit the bat on the wall so that it broke and asked him what he was saying. The guy got really scared and said she was just a great daughter-in-law, the dearest thing in the world. But after a while, Mr. Wu came to visit them. He turned to the girl and said that this was a good way to teach the two of them a lesson. After that, he came closer to her and said that apparently his wife was too disrespectful to the Wu family. Han Xin said that it's just that the younger generation in these families are too brash, and asked if she should be ashamed of what she said. Mr. Wu sat down, took her hair, and asked her what she meant by his entering their house so unceremoniously. And he added that, of course, if a pretty girl like her said he was wrong, it was probably really his fault. When the girl wanted to answer him something already, Ho Shao came into the room and said that Mr. Wu was apparently very interested, and asked, then why not tell Ho Jin Xuan and her younger brother what is right and what is wrong? When Mr. Wu pulled on his younger brother's clothes and said that Mr. Ho probably wants to say that he embarrassed the lady, and asked how could it be, since they are the younger generation, he will deal with them himself. Ho Shao said that when his wife was allowed to vent her anger, then he turned to a butler named Xiao Wang to bring her a new baseball bat. Han Xing suddenly wondered at what point she was angry. Does he really want justice for her, and thought that this man is really funny? Then Mr. Wu said that his brother has been naughty since he was a child, so let them not punish him too much. The girl replied that in that case she had one idea. If he was so naughty, let him spank him himself. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect this. When the girl asked what it was Mr. Wu already sorry? And he changed his mind that this wasn't the case. After that, he asked the butler to change his bat. When a new one was brought, Mr. Wu began to chase after his brother and asked him where he wanted to go. Let him pay for his misdeeds. After that, he started drinking on the butt of that bat and asked if he would do less stupid things now, and let him quickly apologize to Miss Ho. The boy started shouting to be forgiven and repeated it many times. Then Han Xing turned to the second master and asked if he could talk normally now. Jin Quan, who was watching all of this from his brother's back, then said, "Did this woman really grow up on the street?" Then Wu Yi said, "Madam, his clan is too dirty, and let them take his words seriously." The girl replied that now that the problem was settled, then the two of them could go. After that she smiled, turning to look at Ho Shao, her dear husband. "Thank you for his help." After that, WU's men left, and when the door closed, the girl said that the outsiders had already left and his younger brother had not yet been punished. He gave her a hard look, then turned around and told her to do as she wished. But at this moment, Jin Xuan started to become indignant and said that the troublemaker was gone. So why does she want to punish him? The girl said he could consider the older sister-in-law as a mom to teach him a lesson. When the girl swung around and said the first blow for being the child of the Ho family, he can't win a fight and quarrel for letting outsiders into the house. The second hit is for not respecting his elders, and the girl asked what he should call me. After that, she said that the next blow he gets is for his wild behavior and unkemptness. She then finished her prophylaxis, and lastly told him to remember that he shouldn't use brute force in every situation. When the guy asked if she was going to hit him again, Han Xing said that yes, they are no longer strangers but family now, so let him wipe his tears and get ready for dinner. The guy thought about the word family at this point, and decided it didn't sound so bad. At this moment, Xiao Wang went up to the master, and said that after he found the madam and hit the third young master. But he was not angry with her. Butler said that he really didn't expect the girl to be like this. At this moment, a girl came into their room and approached Ho Shao, saying that she had asked him to cook his favorite dish, so she would help him down to the kitchen. At that moment, she approached his stroller to take him out of the room, but the man said he didn't need to, and he wasn't hungry. Han Xin thought he was being cranky, just like a child. Well then she said no, they are family and should eat dinner together. It's a habit of hers, so she hopes he gets used to it as soon as possible. The girl asked if he agreed, but the man remained silent. Then, Han Xin thought that he didn't think she was a child because of that. But the man said okay, and after that, they went to the living room where they were going to have dinner. When Ho Shao came into the room, his brother was very surprised to see him. Han Xin then asked where their little sister was. The butler said that the fifth mistress always dines alone in her room, and her room was on the fourth floor. The girl said that until Liu Xiao returned from school, let them not serve the dishes, and she would go up to her young sister-in-law. In this family of siblings who are only half related by blood, there are rumors that the fifth mistress had an unhappy childhood and is extremely willful, but Han Xin doesn't know if it's true. Suddenly, as she approached the girl's room, she heard a sound, and when she opened the room, she immediately saw a young lady playing an instrument. The girl stopped her music and told them not to come in. At this moment, Han Xin became even more interested. Is this girl really such a girl as the rumors said? The girl told Xiao Ning not to be afraid because she was her older brother's wife. Han Xing said she heard her playing the piano and asked if it was Saint Sen's The Swan, right? But the girl started to wave Han Xing's hand away, telling her not to touch her. The girl didn't understand what had happened to her, and at this moment, Xiao Ning had memories from the past of being beaten. She begged to stop, but that made her get beaten even harder. The man who did this said that she was no longer the lady of the Ho family, so let her stop dreaming about the piano, and after a while, she was brought back home after all. Mrs. Ho Wu said it was Lady Ho Xiaoning, but you got angry and said that this girl was kidnapped by the enemy of their family. So why did they find her and bring her back then? As big as their family is, her father is dead and her mother has gone crazy, so no one cares about this little girl. When the girl was playing, she kept getting insulted, being told that she was shaking while playing the piano. And how dare she even play the tune Swan with that level? Everyone said she was unworthy of playing that famous tune and shouted for the girl to get off the stage. Xiao Ning remembered all of this and was very upset. She wanted someone to help her, but at that moment, she heard a familiar melody. It was Han Xin who sat down at the piano and started playing a snippet of the melody Swan. The girl said she only knew the small chords, and asked if Xiaoning could teach her how to play the rest of it, because the girl was very good at it, and she really enjoyed it. Han Xin said that even though she feels echoes of pain in her acting, she wants to help her get over it, no matter how long it takes, and said that they are family after all. After that, they took each other's hands and started walking down to dinner. Xiaoning couldn't stop crying, and she kept wiping them away with her hand. When Jinshuan saw his sister, he wondered why she was crying. He wondered if her sister-in-law had beaten her up. Suddenly, a guy with gray hair saw the girl and said hello to his fiancée. At this moment, she thought that the Ho family was almost complete, missing only Qian Qian, who was living abroad, and Ho's other sister, Yuan Zhou, who had run away. Han Xing said hello to the guy, and told him that he's Ho Chenglin's junior after all. She added that they were all having lunch together, so he could wash his hands and sit at the table. Hearing this, Jinshuan got up from the table and pulled his brother into the bathroom to wash his hands with him. The girl thought at this moment that this family was really just children. The next morning, when it was early morning, Han Xing was already awake and eating breakfast. The girl thought that being a daughter-in-law wasn't really that bad. She thought she would have a hard time after being reborn, but things are going very smoothly, and the children of the Ho family are much less complicated than she had imagined. At this moment, Cheng Lin, who was already ready to go to school, started running down the stairs, but the family members were already seated at the table, and Han Xing called out to him, telling him to stop for a moment. Afterward, she added, so he wouldn't be in a hurry to get to the school bus. Let him drink the milk first. And she added that she would let the driver take him. Han Xin told him to drink more milk because it would help him gain strength and grow up faster. She also said that if he didn't like the milk, she would ask Madame Chen to serve soy milk next time. The boy drank the whole cup and said he liked the milk and thanked his sister-in-law. Han Xing then turned to Xiaoning and said that she had asked Madame Chen to make a porridge of pig liver for blood enrichment. The girl thanked her, and at this moment, Jinshuan turned to the girl and asked his sister-in-law if there was anything for him. Then, at that moment, someone called him, and from there, a woman's voice was heard. The girl turned to the third young gentleman and asked where it was. After that, she suggested that we go out for a drink. The guy got really scared and told her to shut up. He asked her how he could go out with her. He was going to school. Let her not call him. Then he looked at his sister-in-law as if nothing had happened. Han Xin said that she had a special gift for him. She has to prepare and personally give it to him before he goes to school. Jinshuan was very happy and thought that his sister-in-law understood him so well. Han Xin said that they would go to school after they ate and let them not forget their lunch boxes. After that, Han Xing took another box and held it out to Ho Shao, saying that she had taken another one for him. The man thanked her for it. The girl then drove to the Western District to meet her grandmother. When she met her grandmother, she said they were new clothes she had bought the day before yesterday. Her husband gave her a bank card and told her she could spend it however she wanted. Her grandmother replied that she was very happy that they were treating her so well, and let the girl be grateful to them too. Han Xin said that she would introduce her to them soon, but at that moment, Ruin Han Xin's childhood friend, a girl named Shay Nan, came home, a bag of groceries in her hands. She turned to her grandmother and said she had bought a fish and offered to cook it. At this moment, Han Xing looked out the window and asked, "Isn't that Xiao Bai there?" In her past life, because she got married and moved out of the slums, she lost touch with them due to lack of money. Shay Nan started working in the entertainment industry, but she got pregnant and had a miscarriage, and then she fell off the roof of a building. Xiao Bai is in a gang with his brother Li. He was charged with a felony and was imprisoned for several years. When he got out of prison, everything around him had changed, and it was too late to regret the actions. Han Xing suddenly told her grandmother that she would be back soon. The grandmother was surprised and said that it was almost lunchtime, so where was she going? But she didn't say anything. At this point, she left the house and went around the corner to where the guys were standing and smoking. She came up and said Xiao Bai's name. The boy was very frightened, and the girl said that she had told him not to smoke. To the guy who was next to him, and they said, "Is that really his girlfriend? She's very pretty." After that, they turned to Han Xin and said if she wanted to have fun with them. Han Xing told him that sooner or later he would get caught in a rooster, so let him stay away from Xiao Bai. The guy got very angry and asked how it was that she was talking to Li's brother. They even gave her some kind of respect. At this point, the girl grabbed his finger and said she hated having her hand poked at her. After that, she hit him with all her might so that he even flew off. When she asked, "Is that really all they can do, taking down all the bullies?" The guy who was barely breathing asked, "What does she want?" But Han Xin told him to keep his voice down. After that, the girl turned to Xiaobai and said, "Let him take no offense," and then at her, "If she breaks his leg for getting into trouble." Han Xin said that if he has nothing to do, he can read books, and if things are bad with his studies, she'll send him to school. It won't do him any good to socialize with them. When the sun had already started to set, beyond the horizon, Han Xing walked back to the manor. When she came in, she asked for the food she had brought to be heated. The children who lined up to greet the daughter-in-law asked, "Did she really bring snacks?" The girl replied that it wasn't quite like that. She hadn't had time to eat properly at her grandmother's house, so she had brought what was left. Afterward, she showed the dish she had brought with her and asked, "They want some too, don't they?" The children replied that if she insisted, they would try it. Then she turned to Ho Shao and asked, "What about him? Isn't he hungry?" But the man gave thanks and said he would not. The girl at this point thought he was being so cloying and said that he must be very hungry, so she would cook something herself. The children were very surprised. They thought that their daughter-in-law did not know how to cook. But suddenly someone knocked. The girl was very surprised who was knocking so hard, and when she opened the door, there was a bouquet of flowers in front of her, and along with this bouquet knelt Mr. Wu. To the girl, he thanked the mistress for helping him raise his absent-minded brother. The man said that he didn't know if she would like the bouquet, but he decided to give it to her. Han Xin thanked him for the bouquet and said that he was very generous, but she couldn't accept it. Mr. Wu said that she is the only one in this world who can refuse him. He has met thousands of women in the world, but Miss Ho is different from all of them. The day he met her, he realized it was time to do it. Han Xin replied that the rose is gorgeous, but the thorns are prickly. She said that he brought such a bouquet of flowers. Does he really want the yellow newspapers to write gossip about them today? Mr. Wu moved closer to her and said he was used to being the center of attention and asked why don't they have dinner with her tomorrow. He didn't mind getting into a scandal with a beautiful woman. But at that moment, Ho Shao came up to them and said that if he wanted to eat so much, why didn't he join them? He is always willing to keep Mr. Wu company. The girl couldn't believe that he had protected her. It felt like the man before her was completely different. Then she turned to Mr. Wu and told him that the Ho family would be there to greet him. After that, she said goodbye to him. When the door closed, Ho Shao said that if this happens again, just let her come to him. After that, he left. When evening came, Han Xin knocked on Mr. Ho's room. When I went in, I thanked him for helping her during the day. She had a tray in hand and said that his aide said he had to take those medications. "You can," he replied, so she just left them in the room and left. The girl said the water temperature was just right and asked, "He's not afraid of the taste of the medicine, is he?" Leaning over to give them to him. The man was angry. He felt a sharp pain all over his body and said he told her to leave them on the table. The girl immediately panicked and asked him what was wrong with him. But then suddenly Wang ran into the room and said, "Madam, the gentleman drinks this medicine when he gets sick." After that, he looked at the jar and asked, "Did she really give him this?" At this moment, Han Xin thought, "Isn't it tramadol? Although it relieves pain, it can be highly addictive. It could also harm the body." The girl couldn't believe that Ho Shao had been taking those medicines all along. When she leaned over to him and told him that painkillers only temporarily eliminate pain, they can't deal with the cause and onset. Moreover, this drug is highly addictive. Han Xin also said that it could lead to better consequences now, and she suggested that they drink less of them in the future and focus on his treatment. She said that she is the time of their family, so they should take care of him. The master said, "Yes," and he thought about the word family again. He liked it so much. The butler came up and asked how it could be addictive and harm the body. The master had invited the best doctors in the country for consultation. Ho Shao said that they made such a diagnosis and said that in the future he only had to drink painkillers. Other medical drugs he did not want to fight in vain. So he just took a few pills a day to get by. He didn't even think about the consequences. Han Xing thought at this moment, that people were all so greedy, and if something went wrong now, it meant that the test results were wrong, and reminded her that there was a famous clinic in the Eastern District. So she asked Ho Shao, how about him spending time with her tomorrow? She thinks they can do a lot of things together. The man said that if that's how she wanted it, he wouldn't mind. The next morning, he and the girl got into the car. Han Xin was driving, and when she buckled up, she said they could drive now. But at that moment, children ran up to them, and they started asking to be taken too. But the girl said that next time they would definitely go all together. But now they had very important business to attend to, so they couldn't be taken. As they pulled away from the house, Han Xin turned to her husband and told him to tell her their story. The next time, the boyfriend agreed. Then she looked in the mirror and saw a car following them, and asked, "Is he always tailed like that? Also, when he went to the hospital, was there a tail too?" Ho Shao said it's probably Chen Ming. He's his aunt's son and the current general manager of Ho's company. He had become a real problem on his head. The girl interjected, "So, does that mean Chen family?" But the guy got angry and said that he didn't care who he was, as long as he was from the Chen family or Zhao family. But Han Xin wasn't listening to him anymore. She thought that no one would stop her from taking her boy to the doctor, and at that moment, she sped up. Her husband, who was sitting next to her, doesn't understand what she's going to do, and Han San was driving in traffic at that moment, but overtook the car in front of her and got in front, so they made it to the hospital fairly quickly. When they got the results back, I asked, "What's the matter with them?" The doctor replied that it was quite treatable. He said that after a small operation, he would need to take medicine on time and take regular tests, and in the future, Ho Shao would be able to walk as usual. The guy, when he heard this, thought it was great news. Well, the doctor said he had a question about why he didn't come sooner. This illness could have progressed to a more serious disease. You don't need a lot of money for these tests. They could have gone to any doctor. But Han Xin told the doctor, "Gu, not all diseases can be cured with just money." But suddenly, a nurse came into the room and said that the result of the drug test had come back. The doctor began to study the papers. After that, he apologized and said that these medicines can easily cause irritability, uncontrolled aggression, and pessimistic behavior. In rich families, the relationship between relatives is often strained. At this moment, Han Xin remembered that in his previous life, he had died of depression, and it was probably because of those medications that he committed suicide. But then she thought she didn't care. There was a reason. No one would dare touch her lion cub in this life. At this moment, she was torn away from thinking because Ho Shao took her hand and told her not to worry. He would take care of all this with him. Everything was fine right now. The girl was very surprised that he was comforting her, but she immediately replied that the most important thing now was to undergo treatment. Soon he will be completely healthy and will be able to live a full life. My husband agreed with her. At this moment, the girl thought that she should find a way to get rid of the Chen family, and Ho Shao thought that he should act quickly in order for the girl not to worry anymore. Then the doctor said they could go to the front desk to pay for today's consultation. After they finished all the business at the hospital, they drove to the mall. Han Xin stood in the tie department and consulted with her husband. "Which ones are the best?" The man replied that they were all very good. In fact, they went shopping so the kids wouldn't know anything about the trip to the hospital. Then the girl started trying on different ties on her husband. After trying on the blue tie, she said that it was probably too light and it would be better to wear another one. At that moment, Ho Shao thought she was talking as if she was choosing clothes for a child. As she was putting another tie on him, he grabbed her arm. Afterward, he thanked her for her trouble. Han Xin girl wondered if they were too close to each other. Ho Shao said he liked the color and material of this one. The girl quickly said then they would take it. She was very nervous and hesitated. The man thought it was the first time he saw her like this. But then a girl came in, and she addressed Ho Shao, calling him brother, and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. Han Xin was very surprised to hear this, and asked if she was his cousin. The man said he didn't want strangers bothering them. The sister got angry and asked why he was ignoring her. The girl's name was Chen, and she asked, "Did he really go and ask the doctor to look at his feet?" Han Xing, hearing this, said, "So does that mean the young lady is from the Chen family?" The husband said yes, and at this moment, she had a plan and told Ho Shao to wait for her here and she would be back soon. After that, the girl walked over to Sister Chen. Chen Yi was surprised and asked who she was. The girl explained that she was the wife of her cousin, Ruan Han Xin. She wasn't very familiar with the place, and asked if she could help her. Chen Yi agreed. She wondered what kind of sister she was. She was just a slum dog, but then she decided that she would see what she could do with her. The girls went to the lipstick department. Then Chen Yi picked up a team shade called Fatal Pink Barbie, and said that it was the most popular shade of this season. Han Xin asked if it was true, but the girl said, "Of course it's true. How could she lie to her brother's wife?" and added that considering Sis's past, it's no wonder she doesn't know about it. But Han Xin smiled evilly. After that she took her hand so sharply that the girl dropped her lipstick. Afterwards said she thought it was a pretty shade too, and asked why a sister than her would apply it first then. And at this moment, the girl started to smear it on her lips. Chen Yi tried to dodge. She screamed for the girl to let her go. After Han Xing finished painting her lips, she said that of course she wouldn't offend her husband's sister, and this lipstick would be given to her. She then told the saleswoman that all those ruined cosmetics would be paid for by Ho's family and handed her a card. Chen Yi, who was all sloppily applied makeup, thought that she would still take revenge on Ruan Han Xing. The next day, the man, when he read in the newspaper that Director Ho was appearing in public for the first time since the car accident, was very surprised. He asked how come he was buying new things at the mall with his wife and was very generous. His assistant said that they were newlyweds after all, and the lady was very beautiful, and it was inevitable. The man told Secretary Zhao that he wasn't paying his son's money to the doctor, so that his good brother and his little wife could coo at each other in public. He said that if Ho Chen stood in his way, their heads would fly from their shoulders first. At this moment, someone called him on his phone. It was Chen Yi. Then she turned to Chen Min and said that this Ruan Han Xin is a real Mahara. She humiliated her in front of everyone. Chen Min said that she's just a slum woman after all. How can she behave like that among upper-class people? He told the girl that when the time came, she could take revenge on her. Chen Yi was happy and said that she understood everything. At that time, Ho Cheng was only a newcomer to the business world, and once he made a move, the family's assets increased several times over. High society called him Mr. Ho, and no one dared to go against him. However, he broke his legs in a car accident and has been depressed ever since. Therefore, from then on, Chen Min became the general manager, paving the way for a bright future. Before the family starts running the whole business, he needs to overthrow it. He wondered if his wife was so clueless, he should start with her. He decided to wait for her appearance at the Gu family banquet. Toward evening, Ho Shao and Han Xing must have gone home. The girl said that the snacks and clothing trinkets were bought especially for the children. The children, when they saw all this, definitely got excited and started thanking them. Ho Shao gave her an envelope with a beautiful flower and told her that Mr. Gu had sent a rare orchid with an invitation to the banquet. The girl was surprised when she heard about the banquet. She is afraid that his relatives are up to something bad. Ho Shao said he was physically unable to go there, so he told her to attend the banquet herself on behalf of their family. Han Xing said that since it was decided, she would take one of the younger ones with her to congratulate Mr. Gu. But she didn't know who she should choose. Jin Xuan said that his brother and sister were too young, so he would somehow go along with his bride. Thought that he shouldn't let these short people go with her. But the girl said they stopped arguing because she would take them all to the banquet. And so the next day came the banquet at the Guo family hall. Many guests gathered, and even Ho Cheng's younger sister, Ho Qian, who lived abroad, also came. Chen Yi came up to the girl and said that she had heard that her sister-in-law was also coming today, but the girl replied that she didn't have any sister-in-law. Qian asked, who would want an obscure girl to become a daughter-in-law, and why her elder brother married a girl from the slums is incomprehensible to her. She doesn't understand. Doesn't her brother know that people from such neighborhoods are of the lowest origin? Chen Yi said that if it is too embarrassing to mention her in front of others, her behavior is vulgar. She also crossed Mr. Wu's path. The girl asked, so why turn a blind eye to her past? Suddenly, one of the employees said Mrs. Ho had arrived. When they entered the room, everyone started whispering, asking if it was really the Ho family. Someone asked how long it had been since their family had last attended this kind of banquet. Chen Yi turned to Qian Qian and asked, "And with a face like that, how does she want to break into the circle of the rich and powerful? She is not afraid to climb high and shatter." The girl asked what Qian Qian thought about this. She in turn replied that it wasn't that she didn't deserve her big brother, her looks and aura. But Chen Yi was very surprised and interrogated, "What is she saying? Does she really agree that this girl is her daughter-in-law?" But she said she wasn't interested at all. She then added that she would go get some fresh air and started to leave. Chen Yi thought at this moment that if Ho Qianqian was not on her side, she would start with her. Han Xing looked around and thought that this banquet was much grander than she had expected. But at that moment, a great shout was heard. Someone asked what was the matter, and another said that it was Mr. Gu's orchid. A vase had fallen there. Han Xing then heard someone turn to Ho Qianqian and ask her what she had done in the first place. The girl was very curious and wondered if the fourth child had returned to China. Someone asked if this is how the Ho family observes etiquette when visiting others. There is only one species of this double-petaled orchid in the world, also called the crown orchid. Rumor has it that someone even offered $1 billion for it. Some of the guests said that in this city, Mr. Gu liked orchids the most, so he took special care of this specimen. Qian Qian said that it wasn't her. Someone pushed her and she lost her balance, so she accidentally hit the vase. The host at this point said to quickly put Miss Ho out the door, and also that from now on, their family would not invite members of the Ho family to events. The girl said she was sorry and apologized and said that Ho's family was not at fault at all. The guests immediately began to whisper. They wondered if the Gu family was going to publicly declare war on the Ho family, and this could affect the power in the city. One of the guests wondered what this Ho Xiao could do. He can't stand up for himself, and his sisters have to endure such an attitude. Then suddenly, Chen Yi spoke up and told Qian Qian if she knew how many problems had appeared because of her, and she herself thought that the Ho family would definitely be disgraced this time. Chen Yi approached the girl and told her that she was so ignorant and she couldn't help her now. But at this moment, someone approached her, said hello, and asked if she wanted to turn towards her. Chen Yi didn't know who it was, so she turned around. But at that moment, she received a slap from Han Xin, who had just approached her. The girl didn't expect that. She fell to the floor from the heavy blow and said that it was Qian Qian's fault, so why did she hit her? Han Xing said that the Chen family and the Ho family used to be so friendly, and asked why now that her sister was in trouble. She was gloating on the contrary, and told her to quickly apologize to Qian Qian. But Chen Yi got angry and said that she hit her in front of everyone in front of her, and she also has to apologize. The girl asked why that was so. After that, she got to her feet and sharply told Ru and Han Xing that she would never forgive her. Han Xing said that the Ho family has always treated the Chen family well. Even after that accident where Ho Xiao got hurt, they trusted their family's future to her brother. She asked if Chen Min knew how she felt about her sisters and brothers. Chen Yi said that she was a brainless and insolent idiot. She apologized immediately, but the girl didn't listen to her and kicked her face so that she fell down. Chen Yi, all shivering in pain, told Qian Qian in a whisper to forgive her. But Han Xin asked, "What's the matter? Why is she so quiet? Is it because she hasn't eaten anything, or because her throat is sore?" And asked if she should call a doctor. Maybe it's contagious. And at this moment, Chen Yi shouted for Qian Qian to forgive her stupid sister, and she didn't want to say such a thing. Then the head of the party said that since their family's problem is solved, but their family's house is too small, so they can't accommodate the whole Ho family. So he asked that they leave. Han Xing thought at this moment that in her past life, the people from the Zhu family had taught her how to take care of orchids, and she tried her best to please the Gu family. After that, the Zhu family had completely taken the place of the Ho family, and they didn't need her as a working tool anymore, so they just got rid of her. But since she is now the madam of the Ho family, she has a chance. So she went to Mr. Gu and asked him not to kick her out. She believes that her younger ones are obedient and well-mannered children. Mr. Gu said that she is a girl who can handle any problem, but the Ho family is responsible for this misunderstanding. Han Xin said that Mr. Gujo is right. Their family made a mistake and they should be responsible for it. And so long ago, she learned how to take care of orchids, so she wants to try to revive this one. The girl said to give her 3 months. And if she can't bring it back in one piece, the Ho family is willing to pay the amount they will be happy with. But Mr. Goose said that those were just crazy words. Suddenly another man turned and said that since she had said it, let her try it. Mr. Goose said that if his grandson was okay with it, he would still give her 3 months. The girl looked at him and remembered that it was the same doctor. She was very surprised that he was also from the Gu family. Han Xin then thanked the master and said that she has another problem now. She wanted to check the video surveillance. At this moment, Chen Yi became very angry and asked what the hell. She's making fun of their family, but the master said that if she wanted to, she could watch in peace. But the girl came up to Chen and asked her why she was the one who was so agitated. Maybe she's the one who pushed her, and now she's afraid of being exposed. The girl said that this was not the case. Ho Qianqian was very close to the orchid then, and she stood on tiptoe, and he come up to push her. The girl didn't understand, she had nothing to do with it. But then suddenly Qianqian asked, how did she know she was on tiptoe? If there was a person beside her, it was impossible to see how she was standing at that moment. The girl said she was her cousin. How could she do that to her? People immediately began to whisper. They didn't understand how the perpetrator could yell that it was the other person's fault. It was just disgusting. Chen Yi started to object. She said that she had twisted her ankle and let Qianqian not come near her. After all, her sister-in-law had beaten her up. The girls asked if she thought this was the end, and not just the beginning. Han Xing said for Qianqian to give her another good slap. Qianqian said that she was the fourth lady of the Ho family, and she asked, does Chen really want to reverse this? At that moment she slapped the girl. Mr. Gu's son said to no longer invite Missy Chen to the Gu family banquets, and no one there will ever welcome her and her family again. And at that moment, many girls started coming up to Han Xin. One of them said that one was so beautiful and asked, what skincare products does she use? Someone said she was so slick and asked her to teach her how to be like that too. The girl didn't understand what was going on, and Xiaoning told her that they were surrounded. But then suddenly she heard a piano playing and was very surprised, as they looked at the girl who had made herself an instrument. And Han Xing said about hearing that Lady Yuan was holding a banquet to recruit disciples, and she was indeed here. The girl, when she heard this, was very surprised that she was recruiting students. And one of the bones said she had heard that the fifth lady of the Ho family liked to play the piano, and she said that if such an opportunity came up, why not go and give it a try? Maybe Mrs. Yuan would take her on as an apprentice. But her friend laughed and asked, is she joking? How can she say such a thing? Xiao Ning became very embarrassed because of this. But then, suddenly, her sister walked up to the girls and asked, are they provoking on purpose? And asked, aren't they afraid that the sister-in-law will get to them as well? One of the girls asked, what is she talking about? It's a chance for the fifth miss to prove herself, isn't it? Then added, is Lady Yuan going to take her as a disciple? If so, then let her take her on as well. Han Xing turned to the girl at this moment and asked, she doesn't think that Madam accepts those who are better at belittling others as disciples, does she? But at that moment the music stopped playing, and the girl who was sitting at the instrument got up and said that they were right. Useless arguments would only ruin the music. Everyone has a chance to perform on stage, and she would enjoy the sounds of the piano and appreciate as a normal listener. Then she turned to the young lady and asked if she would like to try. Xiaoning was embarrassed. She was very scared, especially remembering her past. But then suddenly the girl said let her go, because she doesn't believe that this talentless girl, she is capable of something. At that moment, Han Xin turned to the little girl and told her not to be nervous, because she will escort her to the stage and she believes in the girl. She will do well. Xiaoning was happy about this and thanked her. Thanks to her words, she even calmed down a bit. After that, they went to the stage. The girl sat down at her instrument and turned to her sister-in-law, telling her not to look at the others or pay attention to their reactions. Let her only look at the keys and play according to her emotions, and the rest of it just didn't matter. Xiaoning listened to her carefully. After that, she began to play her tune. Immediately people listened and immediately whispered. They said that she was playing very well, as expected from the lady of the Ho family. After the girl finished playing, Yui came up to them and said that she was the most talented pianist she had ever met. After that, she asked the young lady if she would like to be her student. The girl got excited and said that, of course, she would be insanely happy. The next day at the Ho mansion was very joyful. Everyone began to congratulate the little girl on her wonderful result and said that she was really playing very beautifully. Jin Xuan told his sister-in-law to make an exception and let her drink alcohol. Everyone was overjoyed. At this moment, Qian walked into her brother Ho Xiao's room and immediately told him that she did not distinguish between who believed her and who was a traitor. He asked if she thought her daughter-in-law could protect her for the rest of her life. The girl was very ashamed, but at that moment, Han Xin walked in on them and said that he should trust her. But for the rest of his life, of course, he wouldn't get to protect her. Ho Xiao smiled and asked if Madame was too protective of them. The girl replied that her family is not only them but also him, and she wants to protect him too. Qian, who realized that something was going on there, decided to immediately leave the room. At this moment, the man took her hand and moved her to his side. When he asked if she was treating him like a child, or if she had forgotten that he was not only a grown man, but also her husband, they were too close to each other. So close that the girl could even feel his breath. Ho Xiao said that his wife is like an overbearing manhua president, and it is not about raising children in such romances. He sat her on his lap and told her that now she could rely on him at least a little. Han Xing said that in that case, she should give credit. Ho Xiao moved even closer and told her not to tire herself out. At this moment, their conversation was interrupted. A worried Qian ran into the room and told her sister-in-law that the orchid had become quite ill. Han Xing immediately went to check on the orchid. She wondered if she had made a mistake, even though she was so confident in her experience. Qian was very nervous. She said that she just came by to see how she was doing, but she didn't expect what would happen to her. This was the girl who told her not to worry because she would be able to find a way to help the orchid. Han Xing, at this moment, thought that she should urgently go to her grandfather and ask him for an ancient book on orchid care, just like in her past life. She doesn't know if the timeline has changed because of her rebirth, but she needs to hurry, because at this rate she might not make it in time, and the orchid will be lost. In the afternoon, she left to run errands, but someone started shouting near the mansion's windows. He was demanding Han Xing's sister. At that moment, an employee came in to see Ho Xiao and said that the young man at the door said he was looking for Madame, but she was not home right now. The man looked out the window and told her to let him in. When the guy entered his office, the gentleman immediately asked who you were and why he was looking for his wife. The guy was indignant and said that Han Xin's sister entered their family as a sister-in-law, not as a doll with no rights. Couldn't she even meet her friends now? Ho Xiao said that she went to the Western District early in the morning, and if he had anything to say, he would pass everything on. But the guy was very surprised when he heard this and asked how it was that she went to the Western District. Then he stood up and said that Brother Li would definitely want to take revenge on her. Ho Xiao was surprised and asked what the hell was going on. Guy said that not too long ago, to prove it, she beat up Li's brother and sent him to the police station. Ho Xiao, hearing this, said that they should find her first. At this time in the Western District, Han Xin was thinking, why did the book disappear? The girl wondered if the butterfly effect had worked, but at that moment someone called her. Then the girl turned around and saw her friend together with her husband. She was very surprised and asked why he was with Ho Xiao. The guy explained that he heard about the orchid situation, so he went to his grandfather's house and got this book for her. After that, he gave her the book. The girl, seeing him, said it was just what she was looking for. Then the boy asked if he wasn't good. At this moment, Han Xin imagined how the guy started begging this grandfather, and realized why he was annoyed then. But she still thanked him for his help, and said that he must have been very busy. But at that moment, a pack of dogs ran at them. The guy immediately pushed the girl away and told Han Xin to be careful. Then she grabbed his hand and told Xiao Bai to be careful too. Ho Xiao, who was watching them, thought they were too close to each other and told them to move away. The guy was surprised and asked if he didn't know that the girl was afraid of dogs when they were chased by dogs as children. He was the one who always protected her. Ho Xiao said they were just dogs, and now she lives in Ho's family, and he won't let her go through this again. The guy said that even though he, Xiao Bai, is not as good as his family, but as long as he can help Han Xing's sister, he will do his best. When the danger had passed, the guy said that he had delivered the book, and Han Xing's sister Han Xing was now fine, so he would be on his way. The girl agreed and said okay. Then she took Ho Xiao by the stroller. The guy said that they were apparently very close. The girl agreed and said that she grew up with Xiao Bai and Shen Nan, so they are already like family. After that, they walked down the street, and as they passed a wall with different marks written on it, Han Xing said that this was the place where they used to play when they were little, so their growth lines were marked. Ho Xiao said that apparently his wife was an authority even as a child. The girl smiled and said not at all. She just always persuaded with arguments. Her husband told her to tell him something more about herself. He really wants to know about her life. Han Xin agreed. But suddenly they heard voices. The two guys who saw them started talking to each other. One of them asked if it was the girl who had framed Brother Li. The other said that it was, and they should definitely avenge him. Ho Xiao, hearing all this, said that this old neighborhood was very dangerous, and he must help her. But the girl replied that there was no need, and thought to herself that he would only be a hindrance to her. So she approached the bandits and asked them if they could not see that she was in this place with her husband. She already had a bat in her hands. The bullies didn't even have time to say anything. She immediately started hitting them. The girl asked how the rotten fish and shrimp dared to provoke her. The boys started shouting that they were in great pain, and calling her uncultured words. The butlers who were sitting next to the gentleman watching all this said that from this day on, he must obey Madame, or it could end badly. A few minutes later, the bullies were already lying on the floor, screaming in pain. Han Xing said with a happy face that this was it. She would send them after their boss. When she approached her husband, he said her fighting skills were unusual. First investment, then orchid, and now kung fu as well. He said he didn't even know what she would surprise him with next time. But at that moment, someone called on the other side of the phone, asking if she was Ho Chunglin's guardian. Come on, they would say that they had noticed some problems in the boy's behavior, so they wanted to talk to her, and really hoped she could come to the school as soon as possible. After going to school, they all came home together. Han Xin was told that she needed to pay more attention to his mental state, and was shown a drawing of him that was quite explicit for his age. The girl, looking at the drawing, thought that she hadn't even realized that Chunglin had some problems, but now, she looked at the boy and thought that his father was a playboy with a lot of women around him. Chunglin. Just the aftermath of a passionate night between two people who barely knew each other. The girl thought that it was hard to live in a world where everything around you was a corrupt luxury, and your parents didn't care about you. If no one took care of him, he would become a big enough problem. So she turned to the boy and asked if he would show her his drawings in the studio. Chunglin asked if they would scold him, but Ho Xiao didn't understand why they would scold him, since he hadn't done anything wrong. The boy calmed down and said then he would show them to them. Let them follow him. After a while, all three arrived at the studio, where there was a lot of work covered with cloth so no one would see it right away. Han Xing smiled and asked the boy if he would show her his work. But Chunglin walked over to one of the canvases and began to tear off the fabric, saying that he would only show her this. As the cloth fell to the floor in front of them, a picture of some creature locked in a cage appeared. The girl did not understand what it was, and the boy explained that it's an elf. The people of his world think he shouldn't live. He is rejected by everyone in the world, hated and wished dead. That's why he's locked in a cage. Han Xing walked over to the boy and put her hand on his shoulder. Then he turned around and asked, "Isn't the drawing ugly?" After apologizing to them, the girl then replied that his idea was unique and asked if he would mind if she added one detail. The guy replied that he wouldn't mind. As she took his hand to hers along with the brush, Chunglin asked her sister-in-law if she thought this painting looked like perversion. The girl calmly replied that every child is different and she wasn't going to ask them to adjust to one standard. He is still very young, so his painting should be more rich in color. And at that moment, next to the elf, the girl finished the flower. She said that even one look at his depressing painting would be enough to see his talent. Having drawn her detail, she said that as he could see, if you add one bright thing to a dark background, you can turn the whole meaning of the picture upside down. The boy began to look carefully at the detail that appeared. Han Xing then said that if he looked at the world from a different angle, He could color this gray existence in his eyes however he wanted. The girl smiled and said she was there to add more color to his gaze and asked if he agreed. But at this moment, Cheng-Ling thought that every time he picked up the brush, he was cursed over and over again by the person who was his biological mother. Always when he brought and showed his paintings to his mother, she would yell at him and chase him away. The boy thought that no one would like them in this life, and when his sister-in-law praised him, he realized what it meant to be recognized. The boy thought that this feeling felt very good to him. Then suddenly, Ho Xiao spoke up and said that Cheng-Lin could tell them what was bothering him. They are a family after all, and in the future, he will invite professional artists for him to help him develop his talent in drawing. The boy was very happy about it, and he thanked his big brother for everything. After that, Han Xin and her husband went to the greenhouse where the orchid was kept. The girl was very focused. Then her husband turned to her. Han Xing asked what was the matter. Ho Xiao told her thank you for doing this for the family. The girl smiled and said that it was her responsibility. At that moment, the man thought, does she only want to take care of the family? Doesn't she want love? After that, she continued practicing her orchid. Han Xin followed the method in the book and saw results immediately. Then suddenly, she turned to her husband and suggested that he invite Xiao Bai to their home for dinner. He did help them this time after all. Huo Xiao turned away from her and said roughly that he would think about it. But the girl didn't understand what happened to his face and why the mood changed so quickly. But then suddenly he turned to Han Xin and said that he still had something else to tell. Then he added that after that car accident, the family went silent for a long time. He asked that she get busy preparing the family banquet and make everything as lively as possible. The girl agreed and said that then she would prepare the guest list and show it to him. Then he added that it's not his mood that has changed. It's just a matter of his wife being too popular, so he's in a state of despair. Han Shi, hearing this, was very surprised because she didn't say it out loud. A few days later, Han Xing sent out invitations to everyone. At this time, the mood in the Chen family mansion was not good. Chen Yi, when she saw that they were invited, she said that she didn't want to go to the Ho family's banquet. If she goes there, this Qian will be so proud with herself, and she will be very embarrassed. But Chen Min grabbed his sister's hand and said that she was obligated to go there. If the Ho family isn't completely in his hands, they won't be able to destroy them. He also said that if she messes up again, don't let her accuse him of being rude to her later. The girl was very upset, but said she would do her best to make amends. Cheng Ming said for his cute sister to be obedient. Then when he gets all the power, the Cheng family will become the most powerful, and asked. After all, she wants to live in luxury further. And soon enough, there were so many beautifully dressed guests in the Ho family's banquet hall. Something that hadn't happened in a very long time. Han Xing, who was standing next to Chen Lin, told him not to be nervous. Just let him think of the guests as Chinese cabbage. The guy sighed and said that he wasn't nervous at all. But he was actually a little uncomfortable with so many guests. But at that moment, someone called out to the girl. When she turned around, she saw Chen Yi and Chen Min. Chen Yi apologized and said that she must have been possessed by a spirit that day at the banquet, so she didn't protect Qian. The girl said that she came to apologize to them. But Han Xing was surprised and asked, why is she apologizing to her? Doesn't she need to beg Qian's forgiveness? And if she came just to say a few useless words, then let her leave right away. The girl said let her not think that her words are so sincere, just because her name is Chen, and actually translated Chen Yi means sincerity. But Chen Yi ignored her remark and told Han Xing's sister that this time, she is really being all sincere in order to apologize. She even invited her sister, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. And at that moment, the girl turned and saw a beautiful lady with bright pink hair walk into the banquet hall. She told her sister that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and she missed her very much. Then the girl asked why she had not invited her to the banquet. She thought that she was angry with her and didn't want to see her anymore. Han Xin thought to herself, is Chen really brainless? Or is she just pretending to be? Then the girl went to the boy who was standing next to her and asked if this boy was Ho Xiao's younger brother. The girl said he was so handsome and wanted to stroke his head. But Cheng Lin brushed her hand away. The girl then turned to her sister and asked if she hated her so much that even her husband's younger brother disliked her. The girl said that she just hoped she would be happy, and asked that Han Xin not treat her with hostility. When Han Xin herself heard this, she asked what other gate to wait for than to look at her handsome junior, and said that maybe the problem was the person who touched him. The girl was shocked. She asked her sister how dare she even dare, but at that moment a man came up to them and asked if the lady was making a big deal out of it. This blonde-haired guy's name was Zhu Xiao Yang, and he was the husband from Han Xing's past life. The guy said that maybe it was the younger brother who was afraid of other people's touches. At that moment, the guy walked up to Han Xin and put his arm around her waist, and said that he had met her that time near the slum, and she had immediately fallen deep into his heart. The girl thought about what other time he meant, the time she had rescued him near the slums before her wedding. That was so long ago, she wondered if he still remembered it. The girl thought he was as clingy as a Band-Aid. Then she took away his hand of steel and told him to behave himself and started to leave. But Xiao Yan grabbed her hand, pulled her to himself, and said that the favor of a drop of water will repay springs. The guy meant that gratitude would come in greater volume than the original help was given when he took her by the waist again, and said that, moreover, Lady Ruin had saved him, and asked if she had forgotten it. She tried again to remove his hands, and said that she would tell him again to behave again. Xiao Yan said that no woman had ever rejected him like this before, and asked Lady Ruin, "Does she really play hardball with him?" Han Xin surprised when she heard that, but said she thought he was exaggerating too much. He's a thick-skinned and unscrupulous person at the same time.